still looking for a motive. And here locally at Wolfson High School, 2 students got into a fight. One of the students pulled out a knife and stabbed the other student. So these incidents may be overwhelming for parents, and it just may seem easier to avoid talking about them altogether. But here to tell us more about how to talk to your kids through these tough issues is licensed social worker and president and CEO of Daniel Kids, Jim Clark. So thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Where do you even start? I mean, it's kind of hard to shield your children from things like that. They're going to know. So how do you talk?
Well, kids are great observers, but they're not really good interpreters. And so you're going to have to really help interpret a lot for them. And of course, depending on the age of the child is what you're going to say. One of the things you want to be careful of is not recreating a trauma event for the child themselves. And so, but the thing to do is make sure you listen and make sure that you're involved in the conversation. Use opportunities that come about. You want to be obviously very honest, but you don't want to be graphic. As I mentioned, you don't want to recreate that same trauma for that child. The other thing that you want to be very, very careful at is to find out what they're scared about. Some kids are scared about different type of things. Perhaps there is an issue at home or at the school that you want to really be sensitive to, and so maybe that's where they're scared, or maybe they're scared about the bus stop. So make sure that you're listening and finding out exactly what it is that's disturbing to them. The other thing to do, I think, anytime being forewarned is a way to mentally be prepared. So talk about safety plans. What are your safety plans? That's a great discussion at the table after dinner, not during the dinner. But talk about, you know, in our family, we always had a secret password, and that gave our kids some security. But we talked about don't answer the door with a stranger if you don't know. If someone comes up to you and says to you, mom or dad said, come and what is the secret word? So giving some children some of that reassurance is a way to help them stabilize and get over some of those events.
I know you mentioned it's different for the age of the child, so how would you approach this if your child is in elementary school as opposed to middle or high school?
Well, one of the things to know that, you know, teenagers don't want to talk to you anyway, okay? It's the parents. So one of the things you want to do is make sure you're casual with the conversation. One of the things that I often think that is really important is to have some time during that week where you do have discussions. And I tell every parent, I don't care if your child is 3 months or 19. Tuck your kids in for that little final conversation, and that's always a way in which to say, honey, how are you doing? What are the kids talking about what happened at Wolfson today? And that's a way to kind of gently get into the conversation without saying, oh my God, did you hear what happened? You know, how are you doing with that? So you want to be careful that you're not overreacting to them.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it this morning.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, almost